So today we will have a little bit of a shorter video than usual, just kind of a simpler thing going on, and we're going to talk about the three largest Christian communions. And this is always something I've been very interested in, and I've always been interested in particular in how these different communions interact with each other. But let's see how they stack up against each other as far as numbers go. So let's start out by asking, what are the three biggest churches? Well, many people, especially low church Protestants in the United States, are often somewhat unaware of the wider world in which the different Christian traditions inhabit. So sometimes they do not even realize that the three largest communions or denominations, so to speak, are in fact particularly numerous high church traditions, and they're not low church Protestants at all. This short presentation surveys the three biggest Christian churches in the world. I hope that you enjoy the show, and maybe you didn't even realize that one or more of these churches are in the top three. So the first place is pretty obvious. Most people, when they think of a church, they'll probably think of this one, and it is the Roman Catholic Church, which is currently headed by the Pope. You can see him, Pope Francis, right here. And the Roman Catholic Church, which of course doesn't count people like the old Catholics who broke away from them back in the old days, is the biggest Christian communion in the world today. So according to the Encyclopedia Britannica, this church has 1.1 billion members, and that is quite a lot of people. When you think that there are only, something like 7 billion people in the world, 1 out of every 7 of those people would be a Roman Catholic Christian. So that is more than any single religious group combined, although, for example, there are more total Muslims than there are Catholics. But when you look at, as far as the denominations of Islam goes, there are actually more Catholics than there are people in any single branch of Islam, like the Sunni or the Shiites, for example. So that's the Roman Catholic Church, headed by the Pope. He is the undisputed leader of the church, and all the other bishops are in some way subordinate to him. He's the bishop of everybody as well as just the bishop of Rome. So in the second place, we have the Eastern Orthodox Church. And Eastern Orthodoxy, which doesn't count the Oriental Orthodox churches, for example, comprises the second largest Christian communion in the world. And they're very similar to the Catholics. They have the episcopate, they have sacraments, and they do things in pretty much the same way that the Catholics do as far as the formal structure of the church goes. But they don't have one bishop who has authority over other bishops. All the bishops are equal in Eastern Orthodoxy. Really the major difference between Eastern Orthodox and Catholics is that the Orthodox tend to have a little bit more of a mystical theology than the Catholics do, and the Catholics have a very rationalistic theology and practice. So whereas the Catholics are very, very systematic, the Eastern Orthodox Church, while they're still rigorous intellectually, prefer to have a little bit of mystery and mysticism to their religion. So according to the Pew Research Center, there are 260 million members of the Eastern Orthodox Church. So this is much smaller than the Roman Church, but the Orthodox Church still exercises a lot of influence, especially in the places where they have historically been, such as Eastern Europe or Russia or the Middle East, and this is where their influence is really felt. Now their numbers seem to have grown a little bit in the Western world, and a lot of people from low church Protestant traditions have actually gone from being evangelical or low church to being Eastern Orthodox, and they do that for a number of reasons. But some of them have gone to the Roman Church too. But the Eastern Orthodox Church seems to be especially popular for people who have become, shall we say, disillusioned with evangelicalism, which I find rather fascinating. So third place, this might be the surprising one for some people, and that would be the Anglican Communion. So the Anglicanism is a global network of churches that are in communion with each other and with the Church of England, which is where the Anglican Communion started. It was the mother church of the communion. So the church in England existed before it entered communion with the Roman Catholics back in the period of late antiquity. And it was in communion with Rome for a while, probably around 1,000 years or so. And then in the 1500s, it broke away from the Roman Catholics in order to preserve its own national church. And there were lots of mixtures of political and doctrinal reasons for that. But it's very famous. You all know the story of King Henry VIII and his 6 wives. That's sort of the cartoonish story about how it happened, but it is a big part of how it happened. Sources generally say that there are somewhere between 85 million and 100 million members of the Anglican Communion. The number 85 million seems to be the most specific, but it seems to be approaching 100 million, and it probably will over time. So most of these members are actually currently from African provinces, right? So the Anglican Communion, is famous for being a church that's extremely diverse across different countries, but they're all connected in their heritage that's connected to the British Church. So Anglicanism tends to see itself as friendly to other communions, and they tend to try to chart a middle course between the possible views that you have in Christianity, the views and practices. There's a lot of diversity in doctrine and in practice, but they all try to rally around the creeds, and they try to rally around the basic sacraments and orders and practices of the church. So in short, those are the 3 largest Christian churches in the world today. I hope that you enjoyed it. And maybe some other time we'll make another video that compares these 3 communions in a more detailed fashion. But in any case, I wish you the best. Until next time.